now. It's actually unbelievable. I can upload just about anything in a blink of an eye. So it means that we should be able to get you your session pretty much as soon as we're done, almost. So I should have it linked to you. I won't have it fully like set up, but you'll at least be able to go back and check it out by the end of today at least. Sound good?
Yeah, no worries. I'm
Perfect.
glad your new internet is working out well for you.
Yeah, I am too. It was long and complicated, but we figured it out, and obviously all the better for it. So I'm grateful. But okay, well, what got you interested in coaching?
So short answer that's gonna lead into long answer.
Sure.
Is I actually did some coaching myself in the
Nice.
past for Rocket League.
Oh,
That
cool.
was that was my game for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
And at one point after I had sort of like stepped away from playing, a friend from back in the day asked me, if I wanted to coach for like a little org he was putting together with like some of his friends.
Nice.
I said, sure, why not? Sounds like fun. Good way to sort of flex my teaching muscles a little bit and stay involved in a game I love.
Yep.
And while I was there, sort of what I took away from the coach side was just how valuable it is to help broaden someone's perspective on the game and
Yeah.
to sort of help them think about the game in ways that they previously didn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agreed. I mean, for me, it was that was the biggest thing for me when I got coaching with Overwatch. It was more along the lines of not just like, just in-game stuff, but also like, dang, why didn't I think of that? Sometimes I'm convinced that like coaching is just as much having a second perspective as it is expertise. I wonder, like, I sometimes I feel like even like a bronze player could coach probably people of a slightly higher rank half the time just to give another perspective, an outside opinion. Sometimes it feels kind of, it's hard to get not tunneled on seeing your mistakes and not being able to recognize them as mistakes. So okay, well, what are your what got you into Overwatch from Rocket League?
So originally I picked up Overwatch for like a couple of weeks back in, I want to say like 2018, 19, like somewhere around there. It was post Brig release, because I remember very clearly at the time I played Ryan, Brig, and Mercy primarily, because the things I thought were really like the coolest and the most interesting about Overwatch were the things that sort of defied the traditional shooter archetype.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like, you look at Reinhardt and you're like, dude, that's a tank. Like, that's my character in World of Warcraft right there.
Yep. Exactly. No more, no, not very much. A lot less anyway. Sitting there and holding an angle, And for me, what got me into Overwatch is the respawn timer.
Yeah, that certainly helped.
Yeah, I was not the search and destroy guy back in the day in Call of Duty. If I was at a friend's house, it was team deathmatch or nothing. I'm not sitting there and watching, So,
Oh, same.
yeah, makes sense.
But so
Yeah.
more recently though, I was playing with some friends from that I met through like another game, like Dead by Daylight. That's been my main game for the last couple years.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of them were like, yeah, like I used to play Overwatch a bunch, like with the launch of Overwatch 2, season 2 I think was when I started.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, hey, you should give it a try. And I was like, sure, I already own the game, why not?
Sure. Okay, makes sense. And you stuck with DPS. I'm seeing on your form here.
Yeah, I mean, there was for the first like few months that I played, I really just kind of like hyper flexed.
Mm-hmm.
Um
That's always
because
the best play. That's always the best play. You got to know what you
yeah,
enjoy. You don't know yet, so.
exactly. Like I tried a bunch of different characters. I would just queue all roles all the time. I ended up on support a lot
Yeah.
cuz at the time that was just kind of what happened. Nowadays it puts me on tank more often than not
Mm-hmm.
if I do that.
Mm-hmm. Depends on the
Um
hero rollout. Right now CLR is the hot stuff, so you know.
yeah, I've been seeing her a lot. She's cool. She seems really cool, and I think her design is really engaging. I enjoy playing her,
Yep.
but I have to say, playing against her, have been having a lot of trouble, honestly. Especially because the last like I want to say like 3 or 4 weeks, I've been picking up Genji. and he's been a lot of fun. But man, do I struggle to kill anything with that pylon up.
Yeah, yeah, we'll talk about that. I'm sure there's some ways of playing around it. So you kind of migrated towards DPS. Why do you think that is over time? And hit scan
Uh,
also, mostly hit scan.
yeah. Honestly, Tracer was the reason.
Okay.
Um, and because like there was a while where I was just kind of like trying whatever, getting a feel for what I liked, and at first I was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like intimidated by the idea of playing Tracer because I know she's like a really difficult character to not
Mm-hmm.
feed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and then like I picked her up. I had a game where I like it felt like I was dancing around the other team, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, this is it. Like
Mm-hmm.
I found it.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. And it says well. Sometimes you do like some soldier sojourn.
Those are more. So I've kind of dropped the soldier, because it's been what probably like 2 months since I put the form in.
Oh, really? Well,
It
snap.
was it's been a while, yeah.
Wait,
I
you?
want to say this was like early July, late June. I put in the form.
Well, yo, you're my last Calendly booking. So the
Oh,
old website. Remember the old crappy website?
yeah, yeah.
You
With
were
the
the
wild formatting.
here. This is it. I'm gonna screenshot it just for you. Check it.
Huh?
There you go. That's it. You're the last one.
Damn.
That's it.
How does the new system work? Is it like a separate booking thing?
It's a different program. I really did not like Calendly, the number of questions that it limited to, and the payment system was super uncomfortable and awkward. Basically, I had to go through and manually mark if the sessions were paid for and all that kind of stuff. Is just a pain in the butt. So now the setups I have now is like offers a lot more questions too that I can kind of iron out, which makes the forms a lot easier. The website also looks a lot better too. But yeah, congratulations, you're the last of the old guard.
Huh?
But yeah, so at the time you kind of dropped soldier. Now you were also at gold 4 at the time of the form.
Yeah. I've made my way up to plat, back down to gold, and then back up to plat again.
Nice, congrats. That's always how it goes, up and down, up and down.
Yeah, that's just the way of things.
It really only stops doing that when you get to like top 500, because top 500 has like a massive spectrum, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll still be top 500, even if you have a bad day. But every other rank until you get to like GM1 top 500, there's always up and down, up and down. That's just how it goes.
Yeah.
So you drop soldier. Is it just Tracer OTP now, or do you have something else to complement as well?
So I was OTPing Tracer for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'll pick Sojourn. Sojourn is sort of a reactive pick for me. Like if I feel like they have a comp has very high sustain, especially if they're like, for example, say they have, I don't know, Torb, Brig, and
Mm.
like Soldier,
Yeah, I got
right?
you.
And the Soldier is playing a little more grouped, so I can't really assassinate him.
Right.
I'm like, all right, I just need to one shot something.
Yeah, yeah, I got what you're saying. Yeah, it's like that positive feedback of like, or the negative feedback of like, I'm not getting those assassinations, so my hero is like not the best pick. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. And like,
Makes sense.
yes, I can distract and, I can sort of be annoying in the backlines, but, if that then sort of relies on making enough of those opportunities that my team eventually capitalizes on one and
Mm-hmm.
like gets that opening pick.
We'll talk about that in the
Um,
review because that's a tough one for sure.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, so the other thing is I'm not entirely sure, and this is something I guess is kind of a question for you from my end.
Mm.
Is I was thinking for this session to maybe focus more on Genji, because when it comes to Tracer, like, yes, she's my favorite hero, but I mean, you do a lot of Tracer coaching already, so there are a lot of resources on Spylo too. I guess I would shout out the YouTube, but if someone's watching this back, it's already on your
Probably on
Spylo
Spotify
too,
too.
so
I appreciate it nonetheless though.
but also because I think my paths to improvement with Tracer are pretty clear, and it's just a matter of intentional practice.
Okay.
Whereas with Genji, I feel like there are some fundamental misunderstandings I have about the way to use his kit.
Sure.
And there's actually something that I like looked through one of my games, and there was something that I think I saw that I'm kind of curious to see if you'll pick up on the same thing or different things.
Sure, sure. Okay. Yeah, I'm done. Works for me. Whatever you'd like. It's your session. And if Genji is a hero you're playing, I mean, I'm down to coach. So, okay.
Yeah.
Um, Look at the rest of your form here. Goals, make your way to plat. Congratulations. Long-term building skills, knowledge, to self-review, and continue to improve. Interesting. Okay. So obviously this is kind of like that coaching background, coming background, right? The self-review kind of thing, continuing to improve. How is that something that you do much of, or it's more of like I would like to get into that, but don't really have the time or don't even have the knowledge? Where are you kind of at with that? Where are you with that? Excuse me.
Um, I would say like I normally so I guess this is something that we'll talk about training time later, but just sort of on a to sort of touch on that early.
Mm.
Um, I try to do at least one VOD review per week. Just so I can look at a game and see like, okay, especially a game where I feel like I played pretty well, but I wasn't peaking.
Mm.
Because that way I could sort of see, okay, this is what good play looks like to me. What am I still doing wrong?
Right, right. Okay, okay. Makes sense. Yeah, I think a VOD review a week, especially if it's like 30, 40 minutes tops, should be fine.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you're giving yourself goals to work on and or evaluating your progress. So shouldn't be too much of an issue. Okay, so then I guess let's go. You brought it up, so let's talk about your playtime. What is it like right now?
Usually like 4 to 5 days a week I'll play. And I would say usually like 3 to 4 of those days I get in like a good competitive session.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
especially it's because usually at least like 1 or 2 days a week I'm hopping on to play like quick play with friends. Like I
Mm-hmm.
get off work and a lot of my friends are EU, so like for them it's already late enough that they're like done with all of that stuff and I want to catch them before they go to bed.
Right, right. Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. And then when you say a good competitive session, what is that generally like?
Usually anywhere from like 1 to 2 hours. Like anywhere in the sort of 7 to 10 game range is usually where sometime around then is when I feel my focus start to slip a little bit and I'm not really like actively practicing anymore.
Right, right. Okay. Yeah, I mean it seems reasonable. Have you been able to do you take breaks between games?
Um, I would say usually like every 2 to 3 games, I'll take like a couple of minutes,
Okay.
walk a lap around the house, like.
Sure. Seems reasonable.
Mm.
Sleep looks okay. Not bad. Obviously pretty busy, I'm sure. So 7 to 8 isn't terrible. Uh, let's see here. What do you hope to get out of the session? Understanding which aspects of my play are the biggest targets to focus on. I can recognize a lot of things which need improvement, but I have a hard time knowing which ones will yield the most results. Now, obviously, this form is a little bit outdated, so is that still accurate with the Genji?
I would say so. Because over the last few months, I've sort of come to understand Overwatch as a game a little bit better. Um, but one of the things that I still sort of struggle with when it comes to self-evaluation is thinking about like, okay, which of these, say, 3 or 4 possible courses of action will provide the most value in,
Mm-hmm.
XYZ scenario, like based on my comp, their comp, map, point progress, whatever.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. So you have a knowledge, not always sure what's the most important at that given get at that point in time. What do you feel is holding you back from improving? Again, this may or may not be outdated, but in general mentality, I find that I have trouble maintaining focus on what I'm trying to practice, especially when the other team makes major character swaps to counter me and I struggle to find value. Is that still the case?
A bit less so now, partially because my hero pool has broadened a little bit. Like between Tracer, Sojourn, Genji, I have, some more options. Like it's especially I know it was something in the I think it was like a Diamond Tracer review you posted on Spylo 2 like yesterday. There was that moment where you're talking about how you start off the game really well and then over a couple of fights they swap to like Reaper, Bastion, Moira, like, and then that sort of thing slowly sort of makes it so okay, now I'm struggling to find value and I
Mm-hmm.
don't find that as frustrating as I did before.
Good. Good.
Part of that was just sort of getting used to the idea of playing a game where the other team can just switch things up mid match.
Yep.
um it's not really something I've played before. I haven't played a game where that's like a mechanic prior to Overwatch. So that took some getting used to. I think at this point, I guess if we're gonna zoom in on Genji specifically, I think a lot of it is just not is sort of treading that line between fearlessness and foolishness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I feel like I often have a play that, like if I was Necros and just landed every right click, it works. But I'm not Necros. I'm Plat,
Right.
and I
Right.
don't land every right click, so I feed.
Right. Makes sense. Okay. Um, I guess it's about like kind of the answer to both questions or just both issues is just understanding where just making the right decision can get value, whether that's understanding what things you need to be adjusting when they do go the Moira Reaper Torb, and understanding what are good decisions even if I don't hit every single right click. I think the idea is that even if you aren't Necros, there are some objectively good and objectively bad things to do.
Mm-hmm.
Necros goes in for a high risk, high reward play where if he doesn't hit the shot, he dies and he misses the shot, he's going to die. The question is on reevaluating that play, was it a reasonable risk for the reward? I think. I think a lot of Genji players go, well, oh, if I was just a little bit better mechanically, I could have made that play. But would it have made sense if the enemy team was also better mechanically, right? Like, what level of disrespect are you putting out right now? And what if it is just bad decision making, period? Obviously, we'll have to see in game, but I think for you, as much as possible, it's about being intelligent without being cowardly. I think, and finding that balance can be really, really, really hard to find. Okay.
Yeah, and that is something also that I've worked on a bit with like my Tracer play, because
Mm-hmm.
especially I see a lot of Ashe swaps
Mm-hmm.
against my Tracer because 150 breakpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's that same idea that like what level of disrespect can you get away with?
Right.
Like,
Right.
is the Ashe gonna turn around and just like instantly headshot you with like
Sure.
180 and just delete you? Sure, it'll happen sometimes, but you kind of have to limit test within each match, right?
Exactly.
Is that sort of
Exactly.
what you were getting at?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I think you can kind of look at that matchup and assuming that you have a couple of blinks or your recall, whatever, you should win that 1v1, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going against, a Moira with Fade and Orb, you might have to be a little bit more cautious, not because you're thinking, oh, if I was better, I'd kill the Moira. Well, actually, I don't even know if you would kill the Moira if you were better, right? Regardless, that's kind of like, you try to have to, as close as possible, make an objectively good decision, regardless of your rank. And as you improve at the game, as the competition gets better, as you get better, you'll have the habit of making those good decisions. I dive in Ana without Sleep Dart, that's a good play. If I'm taking an angle as Genji and I blade backline because I've seen Suzu, that's a good play. Those are the kind of things that we're looking for, is like making good plays, not just like, I'm going to be brave no matter what and just closing your eyes and just running it in. That's not a good play. But at the same time, playing super, super passive, even when you see opportunities, that's not a good play either. It's about finding that balance.
Yeah, it's like the idea of aggression not just being running it down main, but recognizing an opportunity and
Right.
jumping on it without hesitation.
Right. And that's the skill you need to develop. It's not like, oh, I need that killer instinct necessarily. It's more of the recognition when you have an advantage and capitalizing off of that advantage. And that's what a lot of lower ranked players, mid ranked players struggle with, is not knowing when they have an advantage and when they don't have the advantage, right? They'll look at a high ranked Genji like Necros and be like, oh, this is crazy to just kill 6, right? But Necros had to wait for that opportunity. He had to see those cooldowns being used or that position. Otherwise, even Necros wouldn't have been able to get away with it. That's the difference between life and death.
Yeah, it's like recognizing that, that 3-second window before Sleep Dart comes back, before Suzu comes back.
Yes. So the skill is not just, oh, he's just that much mechanically better. The skill is that he's tracking cooldowns, or he knows his positioning, or he's splitting well. Those are the things that we're looking for. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions?
I guess, okay, when you said splitting well just now, could you elaborate on that a little bit?
I guess it'd be more about like an engaging well, like splitting attention. So if I were to kind of goes back to an escape route. If I were to dash into a backline as Necros, as a Genji, to effectively split attention, I would need to know I dash in. If I don't get the kill, where am I disengaging? Where's my wall to climb out? Do I have deflect? Where's my cover? Where's my health back? Do I have my supports have LOS in me? Do you kind of see what I'm saying? So as I dash in, I create space. They look at me. I've split the enemy team's attention, and I still survive. Whereas the lower rank Genji might dash in the middle of nowhere into backline, where if he doesn't get the kill, he's dead. There's nowhere to go.
I do that a lot. That's something
right,
I
right. So
yeah.
a lot of low rank Genjis get hung up with either one or the other. Never dash unless you can finish a kill, or always dash if you think you can get the kill, or if there's like a squishy to dive. But then there's never ever thought about an escape route, and that's not splitting effectively. That's splitting attention and then dying for it, right? Whereas you would like to go in, I don't get the kill, I split their attention, and I get out alive. That's crucial with Genji. And to do that, you don't need a mechanical prowess, you need an escape route prowess.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the hard part.
So it's almost like the difference between sort of cycling your cooldowns to make space. Like for
Sure.
example, like you know, dash, say you can line up a dash through 2 or 3 people in the back line.
Mm-hmm.
They turn to look at you because you just dealt, you know, 100 damage across
Yeah.
the team. You right click and just be annoying. But you always your goal was never actually to kill anyone.
Mm-hmm. 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 It was always to produce pressure, disengage, rinse and repeat. Now that doesn't mean that you can't go for kills, and sometimes generally it's better to wait to commit to where they're a little bit lower. But yeah, that's absolutely a play that I think is very important to understand as Genji. Because the thing with Genji is you don't always know if you're going to get the kill or not, right? You may not. So if you don't, what's the play?
Right. Well, that actually also does explain, because one of the things I noticed in, like, I have a code for you that was there was another Genji that was better than me.
Mm-hmm.
And in that game, one of the things I noticed was that he was very consistently able to farm his blade faster than I was.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked over the game, one of the things I noticed was, especially in the early fights, he was like cycling his cooldowns to apply pressure more efficiently than I was, whereas I was playing like a little bit more, taking a longer route around to the backline, more like tracer pathing. And then in that time, I lost out on progress towards my blade.
Sure. But did you get more out of it once you were actually set up than what he was doing, is the question.
See, and that's where I run into the difficulties of determining values, because that's a very good question. I don't know.
Sure. And that's the hardest part about Overwatch is the lack of immediate positive reinforcement sometimes, especially with the stat board being hit or miss. You don't always know how much impact that you had. So it takes maybe a third perspective, bird's eye view, or just a better understanding of the game, period, to actually decipher about whether what you're doing is worth doing or not. Okay. Any other questions?
I think that's it. I think that's everything that's come up in the early section. I'm sure stuff will come up as we're going through the VOD.
Of course. Well, shoot me the code if you got it.
Yep. All right, there you go.
Got it.
And this is a flashpoint code too. So
oh, nice.
I don't know how. This will be a good exercise for both of us.
Sure. I'm getting there. It'll take some time for me to kind of figure out where and when, but yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've noticed with, you know, teams in game too, is people tend to do that thing where they just sit on point because they don't know where to like take the engage.
Yep.
Like they don't recognize where the chokes are.
Yeah, I played ball like one map, hanging out with friends the other day, and I just gave up. I couldn't find out where the megas were, so I was like, all right, well, I'm done. Okay, so let's talk about this right here. So Genji, what is Genji good at? Let's start with the base fundamentals.
He's good at assassinating isolated targets. He's good at making sort of a burst of pressure and then using his cooldowns to get out.
Sure, absolutely. Now, what is Genji's weakness? Let's compare Genji to Tracer, for example.
I would say sustain.
Okay, and what does that actually mean?
So, like Tracer's, like her primary resource is her blinks, right? Like her
Right.
recall is very important, but her blinks are what keep her alive most of the
Right.
time that you're engaged.
Right.
Um, and Genji is less evasive than Tracer is. So you have like once you use your cooldowns, like say you dash, that's 8 seconds without a dash versus 3 seconds without a blink.
What I like to say is speed is sustainer, right? The ability to move around, avoid damage, and set up faster is sustained in a way, shape, or form. The problem with what you're doing right now is you have basically two options, okay? You either wrap all the way around behind and assassinate somebody, right? Or you spend a long time setting up, don't get enough pressure, and then get forced out almost immediately. You kind of see what I'm saying? So while I appreciate you being able to sneak up in the Ash here, it's the time investment for the reward isn't there. Now, when would it be worth taking this long of a path to set it for backline? What kind of a composition would you be looking to assassinate?
I would say if they have someone who also wants to take that sort of like high sight line, but they have short range supports.
Sure. Give me an example.
Like say they have a soldier with, I don't know, say like a Moira and an Ilari.
Okay. So what would taking this flank accomplish?
It would prevent their soldier in this theoretical example from holding that high ground position where he has a good angle onto the rest of my team.
So you're talking about clearing somebody off of an angle, basically.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like using my kill threat to basically say you're not allowed to be here because I'm here.
So here's the question. Do you need to flank to be able to do that?
No, I could go over that wall on point and drop down on backline.
Okay.
Or even just mark their Genji, stop him from getting over into our backline.
Sure. The risk with what you're doing right now is that you're not Tracer, you're not Sombra, you take too long to do this. And so if you're going to do this, you better have a very, very big reward for you at the end, whether it is assassinating that soldier, like you said, in the high ground, assassinating Zenyatta, maybe sneaking up on a Widowmaker in the back, right? Maybe that's something that's worth doing. Maybe you can't reach the Widowmaker all the way over here, so you look to kind of flank around and sneak up on her. But as it is right now, look at how long this fight progresses before you actually contribute. Starting now. Still going. Starting now.
And then I get confused. I don't
Still
know
going.
Go.
Right. Part of it is definitely map knowledge. And now you're putting out pressure. So a solid, what, 12 seconds? Something like that?
Yeah, this fight could have been decided by now.
So the question is there going to be anything that maybe isn't quite as valuable and as chaotic as you sneaking up on backline, but is a lot more consistent in its pressure, right? Because there's no argument that what you do here provides a lot of pressure and a lot of value, right? The argument is whether it was worth the downtime, and I think the answer is no. So you tell me. You kind of brought an example up earlier, but you tell me, what is an angle or a pressure point that might have provided more value or close to the amount of value without taking as much time?
Like if I could play sort of the top of the wall on point.
Yeah,
like
sure.
Sort of play, and plus that puts me in line of sight of my Ana instead of, you know, hiding behind a wall.
You could shoot tank, Genji, dive backline.
It gives me the the off angle on the Rhine is really valuable, especially with a queen, because I feel like she wants to space outside of his hammer range.
Yeah.
But then that gives him the ability to just say, no, you're not going to damage me at all.
Sure. I mean, it's just a nice angle. It's a nice short angle with a little bit of high ground. That's pretty much all that really affects you. Check out your queen, by the way.
Yeah, she really just gets in there.
You know, that's something that you could have been doing from this position, right? There's your angle right here. So it ain't that deep. Angle took a little bit too long to set up. I don't mind it. Just took too long to set up. That's all.
Yeah, like the position wasn't terrible. It was just with the timing of the fight.
Yeah, took too long to get there. And that's the thing. It's like if you're a Tracer, you have the speed to be able to maybe make that flank work. Sombra, you have the speed to make that flank work. With Genji, you don't really have the speed to make that work. But the nice thing is because Genji's damage is a lot more flexible, and he has vertical mobility that Tracer and Sombra don't have, you don't need to make that work. You can get value elsewhere. So that's the thing with Tracer Sombra. You almost, not always, but you frequently need to kind of go for deeper flanks to get safe value. Tracer wouldn't get quite as much value holding here, right? Not as much as a Genji would. Tracer wouldn't get much value holding here. She kind of needs to go a little bit deeper. Genji doesn't need to go deeper to get value. Does more damage just straight up, right? Something to consider.
That's kind of what I was talking about before, where like a lot of my bad Genji habits are good Tracer habits.
Sure, that's actually a good way of looking at it. Set up around where your team is fighting. This is good. Now here, what do you think about this?
This is a good angle, but I think the timing is good because the Ana and the Moira are both distracted. And like they're all looking at my team, they're not looking at the Ashe. I will say in the next 2 seconds, I'm gonna make a very basic mistake.
Okay. That being said, this one makes more sense than it did previously because you were already set up. Do you notice the difference? The fight is starting and you're already here. It's not the fight is starting and you're there 10 seconds later.
Yeah, like I don't need to, like this is like I'm not rotating while my team is fighting.
Exactly.
I took the opportunity while the other team was rotating to also rotate myself.
Correct. So this is totally fine. Now let's see what this basic mistake is. Yeah, you see. So the problem here is where's your escape route? Now you've got some cover here, so that at least you got that going for you. But where's your escape route here? Where's your safe route back to your team or high ground or it's rough, isn't it?
This escape gets messy. I do live for a little while. I don't die instantly.
Okay.
I do die here.
Now let's talk about why this was a mistake. So you didn't have an escape route, so that's the big one. But you know what? It goes deeper than that. This is a very common Genji error. What does this dash actually do?
Nothing, because she immediately coaches and gets out of my effective range.
Is she within dash kill threshold?
No.
No, she wasn't, at least when you dashed, right? So why dash? A lot of Genjis just use dash when their target's at a morale threshold or health threshold, excuse me, where they're not like killable. So just keep right clicking. You kind of see what I'm saying?
If I just sit here, right click her, get in a range that's uncomfortable for her to ADS me, and after she coaches, then I follow her with dash.
Right.
If I wait half a second to dash here,
or even if she doesn't coach, if she just is lower in HP, because when you dash here, she's 99 HP, so she's not going to die. So what a lot of Genjis do is they'll dash or too early, disorient themselves. And unless you're going for a one-shot Necros combo, just keep right-clicking. You don't need... The reason why a lot of people need to know the dash right-click combo is like, let's say you're here and the Ashe is here. Now you have a problem. Why? Why do you need to consider using your dash here?
Because she out damages me at that range.
Right, so you need to close the distance.
Right click, left click. Yeah, I have to get closer to her.
But you see how that's irrelevant in this scenario. You're on top of her.
Yeah, I'm already more than close enough
Correct.
for my right clicks to be.
So for Genji, the key thing is that if you use your dash right click melee combo, if you need to close the distance on a squishy, but if you're already on top of the squishy without needing to use your dash, don't use your dash unless it's to finish the target, because not only does that remove your escape route, but it actually disorients you. Look at this here. You commit your dash and you're like, oh crap, where did she go? Where'd she go? You lost her. Right? Now, if you're a better Genji, could you have tracked her? Yeah, but it's still not the play. Even if you were top 500 Genji, still wouldn't be the play. Keep throwing right clicks. Because you're going to do more damage hitting headshots with shurikens at point blank range than you will do doing the dash. That way you can finish with the dash to get out, you're good to go. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, I get you. Like, because it's the idea of, it's that sort of intersection between spacing and the damage threshold of my attacks.
Correct. If you're on top of a target, you should never really be dashing unless it's to finish a kill, because you just do more damage just throwing right clicks. This is just a little bit of health pack awareness, maybe a little bit slow in the deflect. There's your mega.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, here I would dash back to my team here. See, you don't have the HP or the deflect to make this play work. You've done a good job distracting the enemy team. Dash out, reset again, hold your angle. You don't deserve this right now, right? You need the HP, you need the deflect. You don't have either. You're dead.
And their Genji is like acutely aware that I'm coming from that direction because he just pushed me out there.
I mean, but this still wouldn't be a bad play if you had deflecting HP.
Like,
right?
I could,
because you could still, right? You could dash this Ana, then deflect back to your team, force some cooldowns. You're good to go. Remember, you're missing 108 HP and don't have your deflect. You know, it's a lot of resource that you're missing there. So, aggressive plays demand resources. If you don't have those resources, then you can't go for the aggressive play. Nice. Okay. But this is, I guess, where you were talking about, like, oh, this Genji's outpacing me on Blade. Okay, well, first off, you died, right? That's the one way to slow down your Blade pace. But what kind of positions and angles are you taking compared to him?
He's playing a little bit more defensively. Like he's able to stay engaged more frequently and for longer.
Why?
Because
how is he
he's
positioning?
Playing with his team.
Right, he's taking shorter, tighter angles. Not necessarily a bad thing, right? As long as you're not stacked with your tank, you can take shorter, tighter angles. You're going more for distraction and assassinations, right? So, which one's better? I don't know. Both can work. It doesn't really matter. Hold an off angle, shoot, see what happens, look for an opportunity. The key thing with you, though, is that if you're going to go for these assassinations, you need to actually do them properly, mechanically. Not just hit more shots, but use your cooldowns better, and then when you fail on the kill, disengage, because you've already distracted them. Nice job. Keep going. Right. And this is that tracer thing that we were talking about, right?
My Hanzo scares me here. I hear the lunge and I'm like, oh shit, enemy Hanzo.
Yeah. That's okay. This is the again the tracer, right? You could sit here and angle here and shoot shield and look for opportunities to assassinate through here. That would be the more consistent play, right? You still have an off angle. You still have a route to go for backline. Yes. You instead choose the long way around for the backline. Is this a mistake? No. Not necessarily. Just be careful, right?
I thought he was in dash HP range.
Which was reasonable. Which was reasonable. I mean, right? Reasonable. We can live with that.
Here I'm about to make the exact same mistake as I made last fight.
Now, I actually think that you would have been better served going here, to be honest with you. Directly under the Ana instead of kind of cheating back in here. I wouldn't chase the Genji, basically, is what I'm saying here. Once he's out, right?
Yeah, and especially because I can't really get healed here. I have the mini below me to my right, but I wasn't aware of that.
I don't think you misplayed this fight from a macro standpoint too badly. You had a nice angle, you had cover, you lived here a long time. You went for a dash play, but it was reasonable given how low the Genji was. I think you could have gone for the Ana instead, but I think this was better than last fight.
Yeah, and oh boy, I got a blade coming up, and I gotta say it's gonna be horrendous. My blades are not good.
All right, we'll see what we can figure out.
I ironically have to spend more time in Hanamura.
So you're too far away here. You're too far away. This is where it's like, it's again that mindset of like, you're taking an angle, but like as your queen walks forward, what angle should you really be on right now?
I can play that little wall like directly to her left.
Yeah, right here,
like
exactly.
Right there.
I mean, this is your blade opportunity, right? Dash up, and this is just like cowabunga, right? You could also look to rotate through. Can you wall climb up over here? Yeah, you can. You could do all sorts of funny things here. But like, let's go. You take an angle, but this is a trillion miles away. Your mistake here, let's slow this down, was a little bit risky there, but whatever. Who's your next target? Ash, right?
Because she just coached. She's in a corner. Her Moira doesn't have LOS.
It's just squishies, right? It's just squishies. Kill the squishies. But you see blood. You're like, ah! Anything that's red, or I guess in this case blue, I'm gonna dash on. I mean, it ain't that deep. Just go for the squishy. Take a second. Stop rushing things. Most of Genji Blade mistakes are psychological, not mechanical.
So, like, in that situation, I can just take my time, burn deflect if I have to, make sure I actually acquire another target for dashing.
Exactly. Exactly. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. You'll get faster the more that you practice that flow. But if you rush things, you're wasting your time. Now again, this is the flanky Genji playstyle here, right? Which I'm down for, but you need to get close, you need to be sneaky, and you need to always have an escape route. Yep. What's the mistake here?
I just go straight into the middle of the other team. I have an angle here. I can just sit there and right click and just kill 3.
Right. The mistake here is that you see everyone's purple, which means, oh, I'm gonna dash through them. And that's fine. But you get your dash reset.
And I don't dash out.
And you don't dash out. So then you stay. It's like we talked about like the tracer sandwich, right? This is where we're at with Genji right now. So you can do this if you want to finish off a target, but you can't stay here. You got to get out of dodge, right? Yeah. You stay here, you stay here, you stay here. If you dash this on a dice, and you live. But she's still gonna die, I think. No, ouch. That's a fight losing mistake. That's tough.
Like, I think that was a situation where if I actually gave myself the time to think about it, I would recognize that I can right click, dash through. That'll get me a dash reset because someone's gonna die to the bleed.
Yeah. I think that one was more like mechanical. I think that one will come with time. So we'll keep an eye on it, but I wouldn't worry as much about that one.
Like, it was a good opportunity. I just kind of...
You were just too slow. Yeah, you just beefed it. Be careful. Yeah, be careful with that. Be careful with that, right? So you deflected in dash. The deflect was reasonable given the fact that you're being shot at. But then if you're going to dash here, you probably should just wall climb straight up and or get to cover as fast as you can. Your Junker Queen shouts in, but be very careful here. You don't have your deflect. There's beat, so you're good to go. Keep shooting. Keep shooting, keep shooting.
I also see I'm backing up a lot from the which is... I don't know why I'm doing that. Like, I think that's a tracer habit because I don't want to get naded. But she uses it. So what am I scared of?
Right.
And then I waste so much time trying to kill this Ana that my whole team's dead.
Yeah, definitely more mechanical. I think it just takes you too long to kill the Ana. A lot of shurikens miss, like you said, maybe not over-respect on the nade when she doesn't have it. I want to keep going, though. I don't want to obsess too much over those details because I'm curious to see if there's other stuff. Now, it's kind of interesting here in the replay. It doesn't actually tell you which point is unlocked. Do you see this? There's no UI for it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so interesting.
I think this is the point where the other Genji realized he was better than me.
It's a good blade. Now again, I think this is objectively stupid in terms of your setup. All right, I'm just gonna tell you flat out. every time that you've taken a flank and it's made sense, what has the proximity been between the flank and the backline that you're going for?
I'm close. Like,
Close.
I'm starting so far away.
Right. But these flanks that you take, this has also happened earlier in the previous fights, it just doesn't make any sense to off angle this far away. It's not what your hero is good at. You're not playing Ashe or Soldier or Hanzo here, right? There is no value out of shooting shurikens at this range, and it's agony for you to actually try to get anywhere close to anybody. So if you're going to take an off angle here, you got a couple of options. First up, sneak up behind them and go for a play here, which probably not worth the risk. Or what's the other simpler option?
Just play with my team.
Play with your team. Again, with your team doesn't necessarily mean on top of your team, right? It could be as your queen's here, you could even look for an angle here, right? Or you could push with your queen and look to dash through them up to the high ground here, and now you're on the backline nice and close, deflect, cover, all that kind of stuff. You gotta see what I'm saying? So you're confusing. There's a difference between what I would say an angle and a flank. A flank is taking all the way behind the enemy team. An angle just means a different angle, right? Whether that's 10 degrees, 20 degrees, 45 degrees. You kind of see what I'm saying? And the problem is,
like, even if I wanted to play like in main, I can like wall climb up, drop down from above, choke, shoot, double jump.
Sure. And as you guys fight out here, you could set up over here. But if you're gonna take an angle or a flank, right, this deep, you better darn well be close to the people that you're trying to assassinate, because this is agony. Like this is
like I have to dash just to even get close.
Right. You don't do anything with your shurikens. You don't have any risk of actually assassinating anybody. It's a disaster. So say what you will about your little assassination fail in the Ashe on the second fight, right? At least you were close to her when you took the flank, and you didn't even have to use dash. You see what I'm saying? So that was a reasonable flank to take. This is not a reasonable flank to take. But this is a nice blade. One target, chop. She doesn't fade, so chop, dash. Chop. Where's the squishy? I don't see him, so I'm just gonna chop on Ryan. I'm gonna dash away from Ryan. Only thing I would say here is just, for crying out loud, deflect. That's it.
Yeah, just use the cooldown.
Use the deflect. This is great. This is a great blade. Great blade. Much more patient, right? Much more cerebral, you know?
Yeah, like I was able to start my blade in close proximity to the biggest threat to my team, which is
Yes, and just stay squishy. And you locked her down. You didn't rush your dash. You were like, okay, she's gonna fade, right? Nope, she's not going to. Okay, then I finished the kill, right? That's good. And you even looked over at before you started chopping on Ryan, you actually looked for Genji, and you're like, okay, I don't see him, so I guess I keep going on the Ryan, right? Seems fine. Again, look at the distance here. I mean, look at how meaningless you are, right? They're not even looking at you, right? And they don't need to. You're not a threat. Now, if you were doing this would be extremely risky, but at least there would be a threat here. There is no threat here.
Yeah, and like, 'cause especially even just landing my shots at that range is so inconsistent.
Now, if they were on, like, I don't know, Winston, Reaper, Moira, something where, like, okay, my medium range pressure is actually pretty good versus that composition, sure, but they've got an Ana, they've got a Soldier. These aren't heroes that you're going to be, like, poking down. These are heroes that you can poke down a little bit, but you need to at least utilize your range here. And then again here, like, if you're going to take this angle here, and then, oh, Soldier uses it for visor, well, he has to get close to you to use his visor, so then all of a sudden it's a skill play. That's scary for him, right? This is just, you're not putting out pressure right now.
Yeah, I'm just kind of, I'm a complete non-factor. My whole team dies while I'm rotating.
This is the opposite of, like, some Widowmakers, you know, we'll see a video and you're like, oh, you know, I'm going to take an off angle, right? And then they take these crazy super short flanks into the back line and die instantly. And they're like, yo, you're a Widowmaker. Take an angle with some distance, right? And I'm like, yo, Mercurial, you're a shotgun hero, basically, you know? Get close to these guys. You can't take angles that far away. Doesn't work. Sure. You see at this distance, even this, it's like instant deflect, right?
Yeah, and like the deflect doesn't actually accomplish anything. It's not actually applying any pressure.
Right, you're too far away still.
And then here I go again on the long flank.
Well, okay, if you're gonna go on a long flank, be sneaky so that you can get close. That's the idea. This is a nasty choke. I understand not wanting to go through it. So then maybe I start with my team, wall climb up over late, double jump, take this here, shoot, 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 dash through to my team, right? Something like that. Even this here is fine, just don't give away your positioning, right? Don't say, hey, I'm coming over here, you know, like, no, because you got to be sneaky, right? If you get shot here, you're screwed.
Yeah, I mean, my thought process here was that because this game was like, I don't know, 10 p.m. last night, was that I saw the soldier already looking at me, and he knew I was there. So I was like, well, there's really no point in hiding if the soldier is already looking at me.
Right, so then there's no point in taking the flank.
Yeah, he's just gonna
the play's shut down. Right, yeah, he's just going to force you to deflect or kill you as you're trying to get closer. Well, he tried.
Yeah, that was a desperation shatter.
Get him, get him, get him. Nice.
Wall climb there and the deflect. I see this is the same thing where it's like I'm still sort of getting comfortable with using Genji's resources.
That's fine.
So it's like I didn't recognize the opportunity to like deflect his right click and just kill him. You know,
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. You know, that stuff will come with time. Again, though, you know, is it okay to throw a little bit of shurikens here, just kind of distract? You got some healing. It's all right. Remember, if you actually want to fight here, where do you need to be?
With my team. With
your team, or give me another option.
Does that connect to the right? Yeah, it does.
Here?
Like right up there, yeah.
You could be hiding, like, I don't know, like hiding in here, you know? Sneak up on this guy, right? There's a lot of options here. It's not always about, oh, stop taking angles and flanks. Obviously, that's not what we want. That's not the conclusion we want to draw. The conclusion is that if you're going to take an angle and flank, which you should be, do so on a shorter sight line with this character. Most of the time. There are exceptions, like I said, Reaper, Tracers, that kind of a thing. But most of the time, like, again, here, like, look at the angle that you take, right? Look how far away, right? I at the very least, hold this pillar here. Don't back up to here. That's gonna be problematic.
I lose the Genji. Oh,
you lose him, yeah. But it's the problem is that you go for the Genji first, and there's a soldier right here. There's also a Moira right here who's very easy to track. So your first action is to dash, right? That's not a good first action.
Yeah, slash first.
Right. Lock the target. Go. Oh, I could slash on this Genji or this Moira. Slash first. Don't dash first. And then you're cooked, right? Oh, just die with honor. I was gonna say you're done.
Yeah, honestly, it's always so nerve-wracking when we have an Ana because they're like, oh, I'll go Ana to Nanoblade, and I'm like, please don't Nano.
You need to figure it out though, because it's an absolutely free fight win. It's almost uncounterable. Even with sound barrier or trance, it's not consistent at all. So like that's I know you're kind of half joking here, but like you need to figure it out. You need to figure it out. You need to practice it because it's too powerful of a combo to just be like, oh, don't put the pressure on me. Well, sounds like you need to get good.
Yeah, no, it is 100% a skill issue. Like it's just something I need. It's something I need to get more comfortable with. And, you know, just work on understanding the micro strategy of Nanoblade.
Right. Oh boy, here we go again. Here we go again.
Yep.
Listen, the funny thing is that like I don't even mind this flank because look how close you can get to these guys, right? The problem is that right, exactly. So it's either you take flanks or angles that are way too long, or you take flanks or angles that are way too long in a different way, right? Right? It's one or the other. It's either like this is a nice little cheeky flank, but oh my days, are you going to be late?
And even there, I see the Ana too. If I wrap to the right, I can go directly on the Ana, and then I dash in, deflect instantly, and then I'm.
Right, but again, like look at this. Look at how far this is. Oh.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, at this point, I don't even know if you should shoot anything but ram here. To be honest, everything feels so far. Because
Yeah,
like
but
you,
even like a nano ram in Nemesis, like
I mean, yes, shooting him in the back. This is too far, right? It's too far.
yeah,
You don't do
I'm
anything
reaching.
meaningful to this Ana besides basically die yourself, right? You even tried. Even tried to play around the nade. I saw the jump. Just did. You were just too far, right? So, unironically, yes, nano ram.
And
this
then the
fight's
meaningless
lost.
dash. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So you're already close. So then mechanically here, right click, then dash, or right click, then dash, because that dash again, all it did was disorient you, right?
Yeah, and at this point the fight's already fully lost. I really should just be trying to live because they have point anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if you could get out safely, sure. There's also nothing wrong with just dying on point and reset, because you will get a recontest. Because if you make, I mean, there's nothing meaner that you could do to a support player than make them run back on flashpoint. So. No, you gotta be sneaky. You gotta be sneaky. Remember, you actually are getting here on time, maybe. But I honestly don't even know. You see, this might just be where you need to experiment with the map a little bit. I think, like, after trying this out here, I'm like, yeah, this sucks. I'm not gonna lie to you, this sucks. The support's over there, the Sojourn's over there, you're not actually close to them, you're staring at a wall. I mean, what do you do? Go all the way around here to reap the Sojourn? No, this sucks. This sucks. But I at least appreciate the attempt if you didn't give yourself away, right?
Yeah, and the thought process with the positioning was that the Ana was playing this side before, so I thought she would still be.
Sure. So I'm less offended by this flank than pretty much all the ones you've taken in the past. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, fair enough.
Now I know what you're gonna do here. You're gonna dash this Sojourn, you're gonna try and kill her, and then you're gonna deflect, and you're gonna wall climb up the water thing, and hopefully survive. I don't have a problem with that as long as you play your cards right. Huh, you didn't play your cards right.
Yeah. I also
so you
didn't realize I was in the E.
Yeah. So you coach yourself here.
So I think the engage was good, coming from an off angle, waiting for her shift before dashing. Like, I think this so far has been good. I think micro-wise, just aim better.
Maybe. Look at the range that you're playing right now. Once she shifted out, what must you do right now?
Dash back onto her to get into my range.
You either need to close the distance and hide by playing here, right? Or you need to dash on top of her, right click, and maybe disengage this way. You cannot play this game at this range.
Yeah.
This is no good.
Just better.
She's just better. So you either take the high risk, high reward play, or you're like, hey, I forced the cooldown. I'm going to just survive, maybe LOS, maybe honestly just disengage entirely, right? It's up to you. But you go with dash in later after she's already taken, what, 55 of your HP away? Because you were at like 190 something. And then obviously just didn't see the E. And then just slowly, I mean, the big thing is that you just die into E. Like, let's be honest here. Like, you just kind of stood in E. That was kind of silly. But yeah. I think playing around that, managing your range a little bit better there would have been a big play. Okay.
Yeah, I think one of the things I think I worry about a little too much with Genji is that if I fully disengage, I'm going to be out of the fight for a little too long before my cooldowns come back up.
Right, exactly. Let's keep going. Playing the next session. No, we're running just a little bit over. Okay.
Here we go again.
Okay. Again, it's like if you're gonna do it right? What's the problem with this angle?
I'm giving myself away.
You're giving yourself away, right? So if you wanted to be sneaky, get close, don't give yourself away, then assassinate. I'm done. Or if you wanted to just throw shurikens from a short sight line here, and then dash, screw out of here, Sojourn, go back to your team, get close, and then hold the angle here. That's fine. But you take these long, sneaky sight lines, and they give yourself away. So it's saying, hey guys, I'm over here, watch out. Oh no, I have to leave. And now I've lost my flank. Now I'm isolated, now I'm going to die. Right? So you got two options. Take a less deep flanky flank, hold an angle and just spam, where it's shorter sightlines, or go for these deeper flanks, but treat yourself like an assassin, right?
Yeah, especially because I'm 90 to blade there too.
Yeah.
Like I really need to live.
You're the world's worst assassin. You're like wearing jingle bells on your shoes or something. Like I don't even know. Like let them know. Here I'm coming.
Yeah, I'm like pretending to be James Bond, but I'm walking around wearing a clown outfit.
Pretty much. Like clonking, clonking. Like, hey guys, do you think there's a Genji coming? Maybe. How do you guys lose this? You should just blade this, honestly. It's last fight.
Yeah.
Okay, it's too late now. Yeah, that blade would have been. No. Okay, let's watch one more fight. You got time for one more fight?
Yeah, I got time.
All right. Now, thank goodness we finally did it, right? Now, again, let's not kid ourselves. This is high risk, high reward, right? But at least the risk is worth the reward. Or the reward is worth the risk, rather. Look at that. Now, obviously, our Ana helped us out a little bit, but hey, all right. Finally, wait, what happened here? Oh, she died her own dynamite burn. Okay, I was wondering what happened. Yeah, you just kind of got lost in the sauce there, but like, I'm unironically like pleased that we actually like got close to people. Like, you took a long sticky flank, you got in a squishy, and you killed it. Go ahead.
So I wanted to, yeah, I got lost because I wanted to try and peel the Genji off of, I think he was going on my Ana.
Yeah, it was your Ana. Yeah.
But
Seems
yeah,
fine.
then I lost track of their Ana and I just got shot in the back and died.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. That's again like one of those shrug it off, let it go moments, you know?
Yeah.
Again, get here and do it. Just walk forward to here. She's cooked if you get to here. Yes, yes. No, no. I mean, I don't understand why you do that when you can just throw here and throw shurikens, throw shurikens, throw shurikens. Bait them to come and chase so you can deflect, dash into your team, rinse and repeat. You kind of see what I'm saying? So like, I'll give you the credit of being close to people. Oh, this is succulent, right? Just again, it's like you can't help giving yourself away for no particular reason.
Yeah. So here, I didn't want to get peeled off too early because I knew the Sojourn was like aware of me because she threw her.
Yeah.
And this Genji has been marking me because he's just been killing me because he's better.
Sure. So then peek, as long as it's good timing, as long as your tank is pushing, peek and right click, walk and right click. Okay, they're shooting at me. I have to deflect, then dash out. Now where are you gonna dash? You gonna dash towards your team? Are you gonna dash towards a health pack? I don't know. I don't know the map well enough to be honest with you. I know there's a mini back here, but probably dash back to your team. Probably the safer play. You still get the value though. Like you already did it. Bam. Worth it. Totally worth it. I mean, you hit that many targets, you got, I don't care what HP you're at. I don't care if you're 1 HP, you got to dash.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was like, I saw the Alari ult and I was just like, I'm going in there. I don't care if I die.
Oh yeah. I mean, it makes sense, right? Risk reward. Okay. Genji. What needs to be improved? Kind of I wouldn't say a singular focus, but a kind of a pretty simple mindset shift for you. What needs to be improved?
Not giving myself away when I take like longer flanks.
Taking longer assassination flanks. Remember to stay quiet. Higher risk, higher reward. Don't give yourself away. Okay, what else?
Recognizing when to play with my team because that benefits my range.
Avoiding longer sightline flanks versus comps with better poke. Take shorter sightline angles. It's not so much just like, oh, play with my team. It's just don't go for crazy long flanks like you're a Widowmaker kind of a thing, right? That have these nasty long sightlines, and it's like, what's the point, right? Okay.
Because I'm just like, I hit like one shuriken, and like, so what?
Yeah. What about Blade?
For Blade, patience.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not with when to use, not when I pop the blade.
Right.
Because I think my blade timing has, aside from like that, the late blade on that last fight.
Yeah. I agree. It's been fine.
Like, I think for the most part, my blade timing has been fine.
Agreed.
But target selection in Blade and just like taking my time to make sure I have full awareness of the other team's position and who
Mm,
my targets are. Like I don't want to chop a Reinhardt. I'm not doing anything there.
right. Those are the big three for me. I think if you're able to work at these in isolation one at a time, patiently, I think your Genji improves. You can definitely see the Tracer influence in, but even with Tracer, right, you take these longer flanks, you don't shoot at 25 meters, right? And I think like that's kind of the habit that you have with Genji. I don't know if it's just because it feels like the gun is more ranged, and it is to an extent, but it definitely, if you are going to be a Tracer, play like a Tracer, right? Actually get close to your targets before giving yourself away. Or take shorter sightline off angles and just spam. Totally fine. You have any questions?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think the biggest thing, I guess, is a question of like when do I just sort of sit back and farm Blade, like just throw left clicks down main or into a group of people.
I would
But
say
honestly, that's an it depends, I think.
it depends. I would say if there's not a good, if there's some maps where like these assassinations angles that you're taking aren't very good, then you need to take more conservative spam angles on like high grounds and off angles, right? The other thing too
Yeah.
is like, what if their backline didn't have Ana or Sojourn? What if it was like Moira or Lucio? What are you assassinating, right? Instead, just take a high ground
Yeah.
and shoot 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 and wait for your opportunity.
Yeah, because then in those sorts of situations, I don't really provide the assassination value, so my primary focus is getting value from Blade.
Right, or just raw damage, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
think about Moria Lucio, and it's like one thing that that thing can do is they won't force you to deflect, right? So you could spam and spam
Yeah.
and spam and spam and spam and spam and spam, right? Yeah, and then they can't really exactly chase you down, right? Like they can with other DPS.
Because like I have sort of the burst mobility and
Mm-hmm.
survivability to
Mm-hmm.
get out of their effective range.
Right. So if they try to dive you, you just disengage, keep spamming. It's annoying. Okay. Any other questions?
No, I think I'm all set.
Okay.